Director Williams, I was glad to see that the fiscal year 2023 budget includes increased funding for so many critical conservation programs, like the Cooperative Endangered Species Conservation Fund and for ecological services that support efforts to prevent Endangered Species Act, a listing of species. I think it's critical that all of our federal agencies are well equipped to protect threatened and endangered species. And while the Fish and Wildlife Service is the primary agency charged with conserving fish, wildlife, plants, and their habitats, I also respect that you work collaboratively with other agencies who have their own important roles in recovering threatened and endangered species. In fact, the Endangered Species Act requires other land management agencies to carry out programs to conserve listed species. That's why I'm also pushing for increased funding at the Forest Service and the Bureau of Land Management for programs related to threatened and endangered species conservation programs. Uh, all that to say the following. In my home state of California, we have significant amounts of federal land that is managed by the Forest Service and BLM that's home to numerous listed species. So my question, Director Williams, is this. Can you talk for a minute about how Fish and Wildlife collaborates with other agencies like BLM and Forest Service to better conserve and restore listed species and their habitat?
Thank you for that question, Senator Padilla. And indeed, that's a priority for me and for this administration, for the department, the Interior Department, and for the Fish and Wildlife Service. And I would say that it's an area of focus where I've worked closely with the bureau chiefs, whether it's the Park Service, the BLM, with other agencies, USDA. I work with them very closely and think that it's incredibly important. And in fact, I think one of the hallmarks of this administration is that we have worked through some challenging issues and we've hit them head on. So I also agree with you in that I think this is an opportunity for the Endangered Species Act. Were we to have the capacity and adequate resources, we can be more proactive in our administration of Section 7A1 and 7A12 of the Endangered Species Act, and in being more proactive in how we work with other agencies in consultation and on their efforts on their land. So it's of utmost importance. We are doing it, and I also think it's where we can do more.
Great. Well, as a follow-up to today, not to answer right now, but would love to also hear what else Congress can do to support you and the other agencies in these efforts. But in my time remaining, I did want to raise one other specific issue, and that is pleased to see the service's attention to the Lake Tahoe region in the fiscal year 23 budget, particularly the work you're doing to prevent the introduction and expansion of aquatic invasive species and to conserve native species like the Lahontan cutthroat trout. In addition to protecting Lake Tahoe from the threat of wildfires, removing and preventing aquatic invasive species in Lake Tahoe is one of the highest ecological priorities for the area. And as you know, the federal government owns and manages approximately 78% of the land within the Tahoe watershed, making federal involvement in the region critical. We had a success in response to the zebra mussels threat in 2009 because of successful watercraft inspection programs that were implemented. So the question is, how will the services budget request build upon the bipartisan infrastructure law's investments in invasive species management and continue to implement initiatives to fight invasive species in Lake Tahoe and protect native species?
Thank you, Senator Padilla, for your interest in the Lake Tahoe region and in the leadership that you've shown on this issue so far. And as you noted, the bipartisan infrastructure law is terrific investment in this region, and one that we are deploying strategies to really prevent the introduction and spread of aquatic invasive species. I've long been aware of and have followed the Lake Tahoe Aquatic Invasive Species Management Plan. When I was in Montana, we closely followed the efforts that Lake Tahoe had undertaken to try to prevent invasive mussels there. So the bipartisan infrastructure law allows the Fish and Wildlife Service to really work and dig in and partner with our state and tribes in this area, especially for fiscal year 23. So I appreciate your leadership and think this is an important area and one where I think we can all, working together, make such a difference, especially in preventing the spread of invasive species.
Thank you very much. Looking forward to our follow-up. Thank you, Mr. Chairman.